right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen, and we are live. Welcome back to the Scotty Might Know podcast. We're back, and my goodness, was it a fantastic sports weekend, especially from the football point of view. We are going to get right into what we're going to be talking about today, and that is to start, the Buffalo Bills are finally outed as the frauds that they are. My goodness, dude. They looked so bad. And here's the thing. It wasn't surprising to me. I had someone tell me, they're like, were you surprised at all by, what you saw on, the TV or when you were watching that? No, that was what I was talking about in terms of they have a very high ceiling, but they also have a super low floor, and we got to see every single piece of that. And so I'm going to start off this episode 4, with a breakdown of the Bills. If you're the Bills, you have to have a conversation, because big time concern has to enter in now. I don't know if it was the 98, I think, is when this run started. Vikings happened, where you had Randy Moss, you had Chris Carter, you had, and then it was either, I think it was Culpepper or Cunningham. I don't know when the switch happened. I think it was Culpepper first and then Cunningham. When did that switch happen? I can't remember. Either way, but you had this team that was 15-1, amazing, lost, right? And then everyone's like, they'll be back. And then they come back the next year, they lose again. And then they come back the next year and they get blown out in the conference championship. And then that was it for them. That was over. The Bills are now in this territory where they've got to figure something out and have to have hard conversations. There was a stat, I guess, I don't know if it's a stat or just a random fact that came out about NFL history. And there has never been a quarterback and head coach combo that has won the Super Bowl if they've been together for longer than 5 years and did not win it in those first 5 years. So anytime that you have a coach and a quarterback, if they don't win it in the first 5 years that they're together, they never win it again. And then if they do, then they might repeat here or there. It was the 5th year for the Bills when it came to Josh Allen and their head coach. Now, is that a little bit of like a, yeah, but you know what, like stat or fact? Yes, but you are now 5 years in, and nothing has changed when it has come to Josh Allen. Nothing really has changed. There is a fantastic stat that I found right before the stream started that I made sure to share on my Facebook so I could quickly get to it. And here it is, right here. I want to hide the chat. Just make. Oh, that's really funny. I can't hide the chat, so hopefully there's nothing going on over here. Look at this. Nothing's changed. No MVPs. No Offensive Player of the Year. He's not going to get either of that this year. No All-Pro selection, and it will happen again. No Pro Bowl selection, that will happen again. Obviously, no Super Bowl appearance. 80 turnovers in 5 years. We'll do the math. Not good. Hey, he's grown a beard, though, and he's ditched his shoulder pads for his picture, so that's going great. Don't talk to me about this guy being a top 5 quarterback in the NFL anymore. You know what? Maybe you can talk to me about it. If you're arguing for that, maybe he's 5th. Because at this point now, we have what has been clear-cut number 1 in Josh Allen, which the fact that people argued that, or did I say Josh Allen? Patrick Mahomes, number 1. And the fact that people argued that this year, that Josh Allen was good enough to be considered number 1, and then we're not talking about Joe Burrow, was wild. But, Josh Allen's the best quarterback. He's going to be the MVP. They're going to win the Super Bowl. No. In fact, he led the league, and this will hold out through the rest of this year, with 34 interceptions and or turnovers, or fumbles. So whether the fumbles were an actual turnover or not, 34 interceptions plus fumbles. That's a problem. That's an issue that you have to talk about if you're the Bills organization moving forward, because those aren't going away. He now has 80 career turnovers, and I want to know what the career number is if you talk about the fumbles that weren't lost. It's bad. If you are the Bills organization, you have to have some very hard conversations, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do. There's going to be a delay on my voice with what I just said. I'm very sorry about that. I clicked the wrong thing. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I think they hold on to everybody, and it sucks to suck, but you have now reached your ceiling. You're not going to see a Super Bowl. I'm going to call that right now. Josh Allen, unless they change head coach and they change a couple things around, will not see a Super Bowl as long as he's on the Bills. But top 5 quarterbacks, you have Patrick Mahomes number 1, Joe Burrow clear number 2, and we might see a shift in that after, depending on how these playoffs end up. Then you can argue Herbert and Lawrence gets either 3 or 4. Who's better there? And I can see the argument either way. I would then say Jalen Hurts is number 5. And I think that's pretty clear cut now. Then you can start to argue Allen, Rodgers, which we'll see what happens with him. I think he might be done. So right now you could say he's 6, but I think he's just going to keep declining, and we're not going to see Rodgers as Rodgers anymore. You can't argue Brady anymore. Dak maybe could have made a claim for that number 5 spot, but that's not going to happen anymore. And so Josh Allen gets to be number 6. But you could say Lamar Jackson should be number 6. You could say Lamar Jackson should be number 5. So now is he 7? Is Josh Allen 7? And you just see it start to move down, right? And so he is in that argument of guys that get to argue for 5th and 6th place. He's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. You cannot be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL and turn the ball over 34 times, or potentially turn the ball over 34 times in the league. He also is 2nd in the league in interceptions this year. And he is now on a worse version of the Aaron Rodgers path. Everyone has always talked about Aaron Rodgers is better than Tom Brady. He's not. Is better than Patrick Mahomes. He's not. Better than Peyton Manning. He's not. Aaron Rodgers has been to one Super Bowl, and he won that Super Bowl. Great, but he has lost. He personally has lost multiple playoff games. Yes, the talent is there, but he's not in that top realm of guys. And we're now seeing Josh Allen be the current version of that. We talk about Rodgers historically. He's not in that top echelon of guys. And now we get to kick Josh Allen out of the current top echelon of guys. And I'm so happy about it. And the Bills just looked miserable in all facets of the game. That defense is supposed to be so good. Couldn't do a thing. Man, every time the Bengals were running the ball, it was like no one could touch the running back, and they're just letting Joe Burrow throw the ball everywhere. Joe Burrow looked so good in that game. And credit to him, dude. That guy is an exciting player to watch. But yeah, the Bills, don't talk to me about them as number one team in the league anymore, or potentially for next year. Don't talk to me about Josh Allen being top 5. The other team that needs to start thinking about their future, and maybe probably a little more, definitely a little more, needs to maybe make some hard decisions, are the Cowboys. I think Mike McCarthy has to go. That was such a poorly coached game. And again, we got to the end of the game, and just like last year, had a hilarious, cartoony, like, play the Benny Hill music behind how we're going to lose this game. What was that final play? You know what that final play was? It was the Colts fake punt from a couple years ago that went a touch better, a tad better. But why is Ezekiel Elliott snapping the ball? Dude. Mike McCarthy's got to go. That was horrible. Punting on 4th and 5, you can't do that. Especially, you're on the 40, you're on their 40. Just go for it, man. Believe in your team. Clock management, again, he can't do it. And now you got to think about Dak. Is he a top 10 guy? I think he's fringe 10. 9 or 10. I think he just fits in there just because, especially out of the AFC, like once you get outside of the AFC, there's just not a lot of quarterback talent right now. I think it's a lot of developing talent, and we'll see how it all develops. So maybe he's a top 10 guy. But here's an interesting thought. Does Lamar Jackson go to the Cowboys? Is there a trade that happens there? Or does Lamar Jackson sign with the Cowboys and then the Cowboys trade Dak Prescott to get more weapons around him or develop the team a little bit more? Maybe. Very interesting thought. Here's the most interesting thing about the Cowboys. What in the Twitter post is this? I can't believe the Cowboys page, the official Dallas Cowboys page. I don't know if you can read this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Check this out. Dak Prescott gave the ball away twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. Now, this is a link to a bigger story, a bigger thing, but how, as the official social media team of your football team, are you bashing your own players? And you look up, they've got, Mike McCarthy questioning that. When the Cowboys needed one of their top playmakers, a crushing injury, that's not necessarily bashing, but it's still just like, oh, we needed him. And, you go start going through this list. And I don't know, dude. That is a very questionable post by the Cowboys. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Also, can we rewind to the Bills for a second? 4th and 2, Josh Allen throws it deep. 4th and 5, Josh Allen throws it deep. Just take the underneath stuff, dude. At his core, he is who he is. He's going to turn the ball over and he's going to launch it deep because he can. And he thinks that's the coolest thing that he can do. And no one's going to tell him that he's wrong. In the Bills organization, he's just going to keep doing it. And that guy is never going to see a Super Bowl. Ever. He will never see a Super Bowl, and he will not ever win one. I'm now questioning if that man is ever going to see a Pro Bowl. because, again, year 5, no Pro Bowl. You know who's going to see a Pro Bowl this year? Justin Herbert's going to see a Pro Bowl. Trevor Lawrence might see a Pro Bowl. Jalen Hurts, well, if you go to the Super Bowl, you don't get to see a Pro Bowl no matter what. So we'll see with Jalen Hurts, but if Jalen Hurts loses, he'll get Pro Bowl selection. And again, Josh Allen is going to be left out. Just going to be sitting there for the week before the Super Bowl and the week after the Super Bowl, sitting there on his couch with nothing to do because he can't control it. The Cowboys' future is in jeopardy. I think you have to make a decision. I think either Dak or McCarthy or both have to go. We'll see what happens with that. The Chiefs, however, look so good. And I know Cincy's their kryptonite, and I'm very excited to watch this game. But how does Mahomes put on that performance with the ankle injury that he has? High ankle sprain is horrible to have and try to play football on, especially when you got to try and be mobile like that. And that was impressive. That was so cool to watch. When he goes out, I'm going, that might be it for him. Like, we'll see, and who knows if he's going to come back into this game. And he did, and he performed, and it was fantastic to watch. Kudos to you guys. And here's the thing that no one's really talking about right now with the Chiefs. They keep setting records from like a team point of view and a player-to-player point of view, like all-time sack leaders in the playoffs. I think their guy Frank Clark is like 1 away from being 3rd. Mahomes is already in the top 10 for, I think, both yards and touchdowns. Travis Kelce is climbing. I think he's up there for receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, not just for tight ends, but just ever. And they just keep setting these records, and they are the new dynasty team. And I know they've only won one Super Bowl. They have won one Super Bowl. But here's the interesting part about the Chiefs. The only teams to ever play in 5 or more straight conference championship games are the Raiders back when John Madden was the coach, and obviously the Patriots with Belichick and Brady. But no one's ever hosted the conference championship more than 3 times, except for the current Chiefs have now hosted 5 times, and it's the 5 seasons that Mahomes has been their quarterback. I think a lot of people talk about sports in general today, like, we've never seen anything like this. And I think that's true for a couple of things. We've never seen anything like Ohtani. We've never seen anything like LeBron James. We've never seen anything like Mahomes. But Josh Allen, we've seen Josh Allen. We've seen it in Brett Favre, except I don't think Josh Allen's ever going to go to the Super Bowl. We've seen it in Dante Culpepper, actually. Big guy, strong guy that can throw and run, but just doesn't ever have that next level of success. We've seen that before, right? We've seen great running quarterbacks have great success like Jalen Hurts. We've seen things, right? We haven't ever seen anything like Steph Curry, but we've seen James Harden before, right? We've seen Russell Westbrook before. And people talk about like, oh, it's unprecedented, historic things like are happening all. Not really. No. We can look at the history of the game and like see like, no, we've seen things like this or teams like this or people like this. We have never seen anything like the current dynasty that is the Chiefs. Hosting 5 straight conference championships is crazy. And I think we'll see what happens between them and the Bengals. Here's the other thing. The Bengals, if they win and they get to the Super Bowl and then they win the Super Bowl, now you're talking about those 2 dynasties, right? You've got the team that won a Super Bowl, then went to the Super Bowl and lost, and now is making multiple playoff runs. Then you have a team that went to the Super Bowl and lost, and then maybe wins this Super Bowl, and then we'll see what happens. But now you're talking about both of these quarterbacks and both of these franchises constantly battling for that number one top spot. But if the Chiefs win and go to the Super Bowl, man, they are the new Patriots. They're the new dynasty, and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. The Eagles are interesting. The Eagles are very interesting. This is a team that I think is similar to the Bills, where their highs are very high, their lows are very low, but their average, I think, is higher than the Bills' average. And I think they don't go to their lows as often. But if they play their top game, I could see them being the ones to knock off the 49ers. But that Niners team it's so unfair. And I know no one thought the Giants were going to be where they were, and they're not that great of a team, and Daniel Jones was finally exposed of being Daniel Jones again. But the Niners just looked dominant. But the Eagles are the team in the NFC that I've been thinking all year could be the ones that fight off the Niners. But my Super Bowl pick remains constant, and my playoff predictions remain constant. That's going to be Chief Niners in the Super Bowl, and it's going to be a very fun, entertaining, and awesome Super Bowl to watch. That is my football analysis from this weekend. I am so excited that I can look at 4 teams this weekend and honestly be happy for all 4, and kind of not root for all 4, but be really happy with whoever goes to the Super Bowl. I think they all deserve it, and just not I don't have to watch football this weekend and be like, I really hope the Bills lose, and I just really like to see teams play now, and I get to just sit back and support and just be a fan, and that's going to be so fun. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with Scotty Doesn't Know Podcast, Episode 4, talk a little bit of basketball, and then talk a little bit of baseball and get to you guys' questions, and that'll be it for today. We will be right back.
Fundamental truth to our nature. Man must explore. And this is exploration at its greatest.
Okay, let's get right back into this. I'm trying to go a little bit faster today. 1, because I feel like I've been going a little too long in these episodes, but 2, I've got something going on tonight, and so I gotta kind of quickly get through this and get to getting ready for that. But talking through the NBA now, great NFL weekend, cool NBA weekend. Not if you're a Warriors fan though. And I'm going to spend just going to spend this entire NBA block talking about them. Because they are the former champions, right? And they look broken. And so, this is what I'm talking about. They go against the Celtics. It's a back and forth through the first quarter, and then the second and third quarter they kind of pull away, and it's kind of like Celtics are trying to catch up, but Warriors keeping pace, and so there's no back and forth going on. And then the fourth quarter, it just kind of all crumbles. The Warriors had so many chances at the end of that game with turnovers and stuff like that they got, and then just could not do anything, and they couldn't all of a sudden play any more defense. And then they go to the Nets. And these kind of games is why I thought they were going to win last year. Is, yeah, they were kind of back and forth on, are they good? Are they not good? What's going on with the team? and everyone's going, they're not as dominant as normal, and Clay doesn't look normal and all this stuff. But every time they showed up against a premier team, they showed up and would win. And I would go, okay, that's going to be a playoff matchup. That's going to be a team that they're going to possibly go against. And they're reminding the league that they can do what they need to do against the teams that they need to do it against. They're not doing that this year. They did it early. They beat the Celtics early. They beat the Grizzlies. Every time they've faced the Grizzlies this year, they've won, which is, again, kind of like the rivalry thing and kind of what I'm talking about. So that's good. But this is where I'm scared for the Warriors this year. Celtics, they just fall apart. Nets, they fall apart at the end. And the Warriors are just in a situation where I think their just chemistry is broken. And it's sad to see. And you trace this back to the source, and I think it's what happened in the preseason with Draymond and Jordan Poole. And that altercation and the punch that happened, and they just aren't having the fun that they've had since this whole dynasty started, where you're watching them and yes, they're still celebrating, but it's just off, and they're not playing the defense that they've played every year that they've won the championship. They've had a top 5 defense in the league. That's not happening. And so I think there has to be a change. I think you're looking at this team, and there has to be a change at the trade deadline if they're going to have a chance this year. Have to is maybe that's not true. Maybe something happens and it clicks and then they figure it out, because this is essentially the team that won it last year, but better, right? More developed young guys, plus you add DiVincenzo. But I start to wonder, is there a Draymond trade in the works? And not Draymond as the centerpiece, but he's just a part of it to make contracts work and whatever for another guy that can come in and add another spark. Maybe it's something like James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green. You trade him for a Ben Simmons, right? Draymond and Ben Simmons are doing essentially the same thing. Ben Simmons is just a faster version of Draymond at this point. And the Nets need a center. So maybe that's why they take the trade. And then you just get more wing depth with Kuminga. Or you go after... I know Karl Anthony Towns is hurt, but maybe it's him. But you're kind of basing your whole franchise right now around Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert. So maybe not. But something regarding Draymond, I think, is going to happen within the next year, where he's just not going to be on the team anymore. And I would be okay with that happening. But something's got to change. Whether that's internally, they figure out the chemistry thing again, or whatever. Because something's broken. It's not, when I watch this team, it's not the Warriors of the last 5-6 years. Longer than that now. It's just crazy how long this has gone on. This dynasty has gone on. It's one of the best basketball dynasties we've ever seen. I would argue it is the best dynasty we've ever seen. It has now been, this is the 7th year. And we will see what happens this year. But if they get to the playoffs and make a run, you could argue it continues, right? But that would be the 7th year. It's already been 6 years of this. And I think something's got to change now if you want it to continue. You only have a limited number of years of Steph left. Just the reality. He's getting older, and you gotta capitalize on having the best point guard to ever play in the NBA, and make some moves when you need to make some moves. And it might hurt, and it might be weird, but I think the first thing that's got to happen is you got to trade out Draymond for something, and we will see what happens. I'm not going to necessarily take another break right now. I just think we're going to power through and end this. A couple baseball things. One, the official Nelson Cruz deal was it was made official today, which is cool. I think he's going to provide a lot of mentorship and stuff to a lot of these young guys. And we'll see, kind of what he can do in terms of at the plate. I think he's going to provide a lot of spark and kind of firepower even at his age. Here's the other thing with the ban being shifted. I'm so excited to watch Soto this year. and watch what he does. With the ban being shift, is that what I just said? The shift being banned. I think Soto is going to have a year with that. And then about 30 minutes ago, maybe longer than that. Let me check to see when the notification came through my phone, if I can find it. Yeah, it was about 30 minutes to an hour ago that it was made official that the Angels were being put up for sale. That is interesting for a lot of different reasons. One, I'd like to see where the team goes, what they choose to do. Who buys them? Do they keep them in Anaheim? Do they move them somewhere? What does that look like? Who knows? We'll see. What that does is that essentially guarantees and cements the fact that Ohtani will not be returning. Because why would you do that? Like, why? At this point, you don't know what's happening with the franchise. You don't know the ownership. You don't know the whatever. If I'm him, I can go make a lot of money elsewhere in a franchise that's successful. That is going to be wild. I think there was maybe like a hint of a chance that maybe he stays after this year if they have success or whatever. But now it's guaranteed. He's going to be free agent next year. Let's see what happens. Now, does Trout want out? That would be the guy that I would trade a lot of things from the Padres to get. That is where that's pretty much the only name where I would accept a name like Cronenworth to be added in, or maybe even Bogarts to be added in, where you go, okay, yeah, this guy's worth it. Or you just send them because they're probably going to want to start over again and start young, and they're probably going to start selling off their pieces. You send them just the farm. You said, give us Trout. But I don't think he ends up with the Padres. I don't think there's any way that happens. And we'll see what happens with Ohtani. Again, if you told me the Padres can get Ohtani and keep everyone that we have, sweet. But if Ohtani meant giving up Soto, Machado, or Tatis, I don't want it. I don't want it. That's too much. And not just like, because there's no cap in baseball, right? So it's not a factor of like we have to clear some money. It would be ownership saying we don't want to spend the money on all these guys. If they want to, sweet, go for it. That's going to be an awesome team to watch, obviously. But if you say, oh, we got to give up a contract or two, and it ends up being Tatis, Machado, or Soto, don't do that. Don't do that for Ohtani. I don't want to see that. Okay, so that's football, that's basketball, that's baseball. I want to get to some of your questions that came through over the week. And so I have a couple of them here. Let's start off with the questions that were submitted through Instagram. Brock Purdy and his future. What do you think about Brock Purdy and his future? I think I said this on the last episode, but you have to answer the question. Do you think Brock Purdy is actually a guy that you could consider top 15 quarterback in the league? Do you think, obviously I think at this point, what he's done this year puts him in that top 15. Do you think he continues to be that? Kind of like one of those Kurt Warner type stories. This dude was looked over by everybody and came through and just delivered. So you have to answer this question. Do you think he's that? Or do you think the rest of the Niners team is just that good? I lean a little bit more towards the second. But if they go to the Super Bowl and win, Purdy's not going anywhere. If they go to the Super Bowl, I still think he's not going anywhere. And then next year is the year where we go, okay, let's see what you got. And then if 6 weeks in, it is looking bad, then they try and make a switch here or there. Because they have so many great pieces that they could say, okay, we will give up one of these great pieces plus some draft capital plus maybe a couple of young guys for a big time quarterback. But if they go to the Super Bowl and win it, Purdy's not going anywhere. If they go to the Super Bowl, we'll see what happens. And then if they lose this week, I could still see them sticking with Purdy through the beginning parts at least of next year and seeing what happens. So who knows? We'll see. What else do we got here from Instagram this week? I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. Patrick Mahomes will or won't play with the hurt ankle. I don't think there's any way that he doesn't play. I obviously see some concern if you're a Chiefs fan about just the overall game with the ankle thing. But Mahomes proved he could still at least get a job done with that. So we'll see what happens. Curry or LeBron, who's better? LeBron is better. He is not only has more of a gap between him and the second guy to ever play his position, but the gap that he has between him and Curry, like that gap is pretty large. And then yeah, he's the best player to ever play. LeBron James is better. Who you got for the AFC Championship? Who I'm picking to win, I'm guessing is what that means, is the Chiefs. But again, we'll see. I would not be shocked if the Bengals win that game. So I guess I think the Chiefs are better at rushing the passer than the Bills are. And those 3 injured offensive linemen for the Bengals are going to come into play, I think, a lot more in this next game. But for some reason, if they hold up and Mahomes is really hobbled that much by his ankle, then I could see the Bengals winning this. And then if everyone is healthy, and Mahomes even comes through and he's perfectly fine, I still see a path where the Bengals could win this game. I'm picking the Chiefs, however. And then the last couple of questions were through Facebook, so I want to get to that real quick and see. Trying to switch over to that page. Yeah, I love seeing these questions come in through the week, guys, whether it's through the comments on Facebook, Instagram, or even on YouTube. So please keep those coming. It has been awesome. Here we go. Significance of Ricky Henderson's single-season stolen base record, and if you think it will ever be broken. No, it's not ever going to be touched. Unless baseball shifts the way it's played again. We are in, and have been in for a while, the home run era of baseball. It is all about launch angles and everything, and not getting extra outs when you don't need to get extra outs. And I just think the art of stealing bases has gone out the window, and that's kind of sad to see, because I was a huge stolen base guy when I played baseball. I loved stealing bases. To this day, in like the slow pitch softball leagues that I play in, you can't steal a base, but I love doing anything and everything I can to take every advantage to run the bases, right? As soon as that ball leaves the hand in the league I play in, you can start to take a lead, and I take huge leads. And so I think the art of the stolen base is gone, and that's sad to see. And so we're never going to see anyone come close, because I think that I actually wonder what this number is. The stolen base leader from 2022. Leaders by year, right? Let's click over to the screen real quick so we can see this. Year by year leaders for stolen bases. So it starts with here in 86, you see 56, John Ward 111. That's crazy. Billy Hamilton 102, 111, right? But you're seeing 98, 97, 87, 73, 52, 47, right? Here it's a little low, 39, 57, da 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 da. Let's go all the way down. 41, 35. Now, is that significantly lower than the average that we were seeing? No. But I'm willing to bet, yeah, see how you're seeing kind of like different names. And I'm willing to bet that George Burns wasn't that far behind Max Carey. And like this year, that Max Carey wasn't that far behind George Burns. Here, you got John Brady here. I don't know what Trey Turner's stats. Let's look at it, right? But I would say Trey Turner's probably the best base runner that we have in the league right now. And where is the stat? Games at bats, runs, hits, doubles, triples, home runs. It's not even on here. What? Dude. Stolen bases under miscellaneous, 27. In 2021, he had 11. It's not happening anymore. Stolen bases aren't happening anymore. And so that's why I don't think that record, whether the single season record or the career record, will ever happen, ever again. And so that, and then lastly, the other comment was, the Bengals Bills prediction and stuff like that, but we've already seen it, and we've already given our outlook on it. All right, that is the end of episode 4. I was so excited for this episode, just to talk about the downfall of Josh Allen, and I think it's over. I think what this was again, my final thing on the Bills and Josh Allen. The Chargers, 14-2, go against the Patriots. They lose because the free safety doesn't know how to hang on to the ball when he intercepts it. So he intercepts it, he fumbles it, Brady gets the ball back, they win the game. From that moment on, playoff loss after playoff loss after playoff loss, blown out, missing 5 kicks in one game. And that year, that 14-2 year, he holds on to that interception. They win the game. They're going to go win the Super Bowl, and that's it. In 2020, Bills lose. 2021, they go up against the Chiefs. They go to overtime because they can't stop Patrick Mahomes in 13 seconds from getting a field goal. They go to overtime and lose. The NFL changes the rules for them, for the Bills. And then they come back this year. They get blown out by the Bengals. And that was it. I think that was it. They might win a playoff game or two every single year. But their chances were in 2020, 2021, and 2022. And, I guess add one to each of those. I'm thinking about the start of the season. 2021, 2022, and now in 2023 were their chances. And it's over now. They're not coming back. They will not be back next year. They will not be fighting for a Super Bowl next year. They're going to continue to just lose in the playoffs over and over and over again. And depending on what happens with the quarterback carousel, I could see Miami winning their division next year, beating out the Bills and winning that division. And we won't have to deal with talk about Josh Allen being the best quarterback in the NFL anymore. He's not close. He gets to be 6th or 7th. But that is the end of episode 4. Thank you guys for being here today. Thank you guys for watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching later. I can't wait for this Thursday, and I can't wait for this weekend. It is going to be a fun time. Until next time, have a great week. Have a great day. And we will see what happens in sports. See you next time.